Hello, Twins fans. I'm Matt Lenz with Twins Daily. Hello, Twins fans. I'm Matt Lenz with Twins Daily. Welcome back to another episode of From Lee Limestone. And today I have one message for you. The bullpen isn't as bad as you think of it is. I kind of consider bullpens like the offensive lines of football. The offensive line in football often doesn't get enough credit for how good they are, but gets absolutely blasted when they are not good. And it really becomes magnified because they are protecting two really elite positions, quarterbacks and running backs. Same idea with the bullpen. They don't oftentimes get enough credit when they're doing well, but they get absolutely blasted when they're not doing well. And even just one time when they might blow a win for a team, that oftentimes gets magnified on social media. See, bullpens and relievers in general are just very volatile groups. The elite window for a reliever is very small, oftentimes 3 years or less. Guys like Mariano Rivera, Trevor Hoffman, even Liam Hendriks are the exception to that rule. Not that relievers can't be productive outside of their elite window, but it's just to say that the lifespan of reliever is very short and it's oftentimes volatile. And we've seen that this year with the Minnesota Twins. Griffin Jax is one example of that. Griffin Jax had a rough start to the year, although analytics would suggest that he was inducing a lot of weak contact. They just happened to be landing for hits, leading to runs, and so he was going to get back on track, which over the last month has happened. He is currently on a streak of 10 appearances without giving up a run. In that time, I believe he has struck out 12 while only allowing 3 base runners, 0 of them by walk. But if you were just to take a look at his overall stats this season, you would say, what's going on with Griffin Jax? His ERA is in the high threes, and he's not the reliable reliever that he was last year. That's not totally true. The first half of this season, so the first half of what we've had so far, he was doing well, he just wasn't getting the results. And now in the second half, the last 30 days or so, he's probably been the most reliable pitcher for the Minnesota Twins. That's just the life of a reliever. Emilio Pagan is another one. As much as I'm kind of ready to see him go, I also have to acknowledge that when you look at his game log, he's really only had 3 or 4 maybe poor outings. Otherwise, he's actually been pretty solid. Now, again, you take that into what happened last year, and I think we all have a little bit of Emilio Pagan fatigue and wouldn't mind seeing him go. But overall, he's been pretty effective in over 80% of his outings. And that's where I want to talk about the bullpen over the last 30 days. Now, a lot of the counting stats like WAR are based on volume. And throughout the whole season, the Twins bullpen has been one of the least worked bullpens in all of baseball. The starters are going deep into games. They're doing a fantastic job. The Twins are in the bottom 3 when it comes to bullpens inning pitched. Yet they find themselves in the top half of the league in WAR. And again, that's a volume stat. More interestingly, they're actually in the top 10 over the last 30 days. And a non-counting stat called Sierra, which is a ERA stat that focuses more on the skills of the pitcher, they're a top 3 team by Sierra. Again, focusing on the bullpen. So that's all just to say, the bullpen isn't as bad as you think it is. Of course, everything they do is magnified because if they give up 2 runs in the 9th inning, that ends up being a loss for the team. That falls on the bullpen. We don't look back to maybe at bats that the Twins lost opportunities on, or maybe the pitch that the starter missed that led to a home run. We don't look back at those things. We remember what happened at the end of the games. We remembered what happened in clutch situations, whether it's at the plate or with our bullpen. And oftentimes that magnifies what is actually happening and what is reality. I predicted at the beginning of the season that the Twins bullpen could be elite. It's definitely not elite, but it's actually overall a very good bullpen. Now, I would love to see an arm, maybe 2, but probably just 1 arm added before the deadline. It's a strange year in baseball, especially with the recently, a few years ago, the wild card changes. There's really only a few teams that are truly out of the playoff hunt at this point. I've heard Aroldis Chapman's name being tossed around as a possible moving candidate, but outside of that, it's hard to know who's in and who's out. I mean, you look at Oakland; they're obviously out of the playoff hunt. looking at their relievers, there's not really anybody I'd be interested in adding as an impact arm. So again, it kind of remains to be seen what teams are going to sell and who's going to be available. But I would look and like for the Twins to add one reliever between now and then, whether it's to replace Emilio Pagan or really Jorge Lopez has really struggled overall. He's had nice stretches, but overall he's really struggled with the Twins. So I'll be looking for that arm. Again, the bullpen isn't as bad as you think it is, but there's room for improvement. What are your thoughts on the bullpen? What are some targets you might have? Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Twitter at Lenzy2108, or let me know on YouTube, Musings from Twins Territory.